Subject: the cheating wife said, marriage counseling will fix this. Hey, true story. My name is Larry. I've been a singer my entire life, and I can honestly say I never imagined I'd be one of those people emailing a YouTube channel about a cheating spouse. But here I am, man. I found your channel a few months back after typing in cheating wife karma stories late one night. I couldn't sleep. My heart was heavy. I was pacing around my apartment, trying to make sense of how my life got turned upside down. Somehow, the algorithm must have felt my pain because your videos popped up, and before I knew it, I was 3 hours deep into listening to stories that felt way too close to home. I want to share my story, not for pity, not to bash my ex, but because I think a lot of people out there need to hear that you can lose everything, feel broken beyond repair, and still find your way back to peace. Let me start at the beginning. I met my ex-wife during a studio session in Atlanta. At that point, I had already been in the music industry for years, writing hooks, melodies, and harmonies for artists that most people know and love. I wasn't famous, but I was respected. I'd written for Keisha Cole, Summer Walker, and even got to be a part of a writing session for Trey Songz. That's my lane. Smooth R&B, late night emotion, that type of vibe. That night, a friend of mine named Rico invited some girls to come hang out at the studio. That's pretty normal, honestly. A lot of sessions are filled with people just vibing, talking, or listening while the artists work. But when she walked in, I swear the energy shifted. She wasn't loud or attention-seeking like the other girls. She sat down quietly, smiled, and listened. Every now and then, she'd make a comment about a lyric or nod her head to the beat. There was just something about her that stood out. After we wrapped up, I went to introduce myself. I said, "Hey, I'm Larry," and she laughed and said, "I know, I heard your name like 10 times in that session. That smile." Man, I swear, I felt like I was 17 again. It's like something clicked right there. Her name was Samantha. She was kind, down to earth, and just easy to talk to. That's rare in this industry. Most people are chasing clout, trying to post a picture with someone in the game or pretending they're more connected than they really are. But not her. She was simple, or at least that's what I thought. We exchanged numbers that night, and by the next morning we were texting like we'd known each other for years. I found myself talking about things I hadn't told anyone in a long time. My dreams, my frustrations with the music business, my fear of being a ghostwriter forever while everyone else got the spotlight. She didn't judge me for it. She encouraged me. She told me, "Larry, you got too much soul for people not to notice. Your time's coming." I fell hard, man. I'll admit that. After a few months of dating, I started noticing that she stopped hanging around the girls she came with that first night. I didn't think much of it, but when I asked her once, she said, "Oh, those girls? I don't mess with them like that. They're messy." And you know what? That made sense to me. I didn't like them either. They were always talking about who was lit, who they were linking up with, and trying to get in VIP at clubs off someone else's name. Samantha was different. She worked as a stylist assistant and had dreams of opening her own boutique. She was ambitious, supportive, and grounded, or so I thought. 3 years later, I married her. The wedding wasn't crazy extravagant, but it was beautiful. Small ceremony, family, close friends, and a few industry folks who've always looked out for me. I sang her a song I wrote just for her as she walked down the aisle. That moment felt like heaven. It really did. For the first couple years, marriage was good. I was in the studio constantly, working with upcoming artists, doing demos, and trying to push my own music more. She was by my side, cheering me on. She'd come to sessions, sit in the back, and sometimes help with ideas for the videos or visuals. People loved us together. They called us couple goals. But behind the smiles, things slowly started to shift. It began subtle. She started working later hours, or so she said. I'd come home from the studio and she wouldn't be there. Sometimes she'd say she was at her mom's house helping her out. Other times, she claimed her friend had a crisis and needed someone to talk to. I believed her because I trusted her. That's the kind of husband I wanted to be. I never wanted to be that paranoid, insecure guy who questioned his wife's every move. But then she got distant, physically and emotionally. Conversations became short. We'd sit on the couch together, and it felt like we were miles apart. When I'd ask what was wrong, she'd say, "Nothing, I'm just tired." I remember one night I tried to kiss her, and she pulled away. That was the first time I felt something inside me break a little. I asked, "Did I do something?" She said, "No, I just don't feel like it right now. Why does everything have to be about you?" That hurt, man. That really cut deep. I told myself maybe I was overthinking. Maybe she was stressed or overwhelmed, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The breaking point came when she told me she was going to spend a couple nights at her mom's house because her mother wasn't feeling well. I didn't question it. Her mom and I were cool, and I genuinely thought she was doing something good. That Friday night, I had a studio session that ended early. I was driving home, and I realized I left my laptop charger in my car, so I stopped by Best Buy to grab one before heading in. I don't know what made me take the long route home. Maybe it was God, maybe it was intuition. But as I drove down Peachtree, I saw her car. Same car, same plate, parked outside a restaurant I knew we'd been to together before. At first, I thought maybe she stopped to grab something to eat. But as I pulled closer, I saw her through the window. She wasn't alone. She was sitting across from a guy, holding his hand across the table. I froze. I literally couldn't move. I just sat there in my car staring. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I watched them laugh. I watched her play with her hair, that same little habit she did when she was flirting. I watched her smile in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. That's when it hit me. The woman I gave everything to, the woman I sang to, trusted, and built a home with, was cheating on me. I didn't go inside. I didn't make a scene. I just sat there until they left, watched her get into his car, and followed from a distance. They drove to an apartment complex about 15 minutes away. She stayed the night there. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, she came home like nothing happened. She kissed me on the cheek, told me her mom was feeling better, and started making breakfast. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, but I didn't. I just stared at her. When she noticed, she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You sure you were at your mom's?" She froze for a second and said, "Yes." "Why?" I said, "Because I saw your car at Bistro 86 last night, and I saw you holding hands with another man." Her face went pale. Then, like a switch flipped, she said, "You're spying on me now? Larry, what the hell is wrong with you?" That's when the gaslighting started. She told me I must have imagined it. Said I was overworked, paranoid, and insecure. Claimed the guy was a coworker and that I misread the situation. I told her, "You stayed the night at his place." She said, "No, I didn't." I went to my mom's afterward. "You're twisting things." It was like talking to someone who believed her own lies. The next few weeks were chaos. She cried, apologized, and swore it was a misunderstanding. Then she flipped it again and accused me of neglecting her because I was too focused on my career. She said we needed marriage counseling. Marriage counseling, that's what broke me. She betrayed me, lied, cheated, manipulated, and then looked me in the eye and said counseling would fix this. I tried to imagine sitting across from a therapist, listening to her spin her version of events, painting herself as the victim. I couldn't do it. I told her, no amount of counseling can rebuild something you burned to the ground. She said, "So you're just giving up on us?" I said, "You gave up on us when you laid with another man." After that, she packed a bag and went to her mom's. For real this time. I filed for divorce a few days later. She tried to stall, begged me to think it through, but my mind was made up. I wasn't going to spend another second in a marriage where I was being lied to. The divorce process was long and exhausting. She tried to play the hurt wife role, claiming emotional abandonment, saying I made her feel unwanted. Her attorney even brought up my studio hours, trying to make it seem like I was never home. But truth has a funny way of showing up. I had messages. I had photos. I had timestamps. Once her lies were exposed, she backed down. She didn't fight for much after that, probably because she knew I had more than enough proof to destroy her credibility. When it was finalized, I remember walking out of that courthouse feeling empty, not angry, not even sad, just hollow, like all the energy I'd poured into that marriage had drained out of me completely. It took a long time to heal. For the first few months after the divorce, I buried myself in work. I lived in the studio. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to feel. I just wanted to create. That pain turned into fuel. Every lyric, every melody, every line, I poured it all out. I started working on a new project that's probably the most personal thing I've ever written. It's about betrayal, healing, and rediscovering yourself when everything falls apart. Music saved me. It reminded me who I was before I became someone's husband. I stopped drinking. I started meditating. I started therapy, not to save a marriage, but to save myself. And funny enough, that's when everything started coming together. My songs started getting placements again. A couple of major artists reached out to collaborate. My team says this new project might be the one that finally breaks through. And the crazy thing is, I don't even care about making it big anymore. I just want peace. I want authenticity. I want people around me who are real. Looking back, I see all the red flags I ignored. When she cut off her friends, I thought it was maturity. But maybe it was control. When she became distant, I thought she was tired. But maybe she was guilty. When she asked for counseling, I thought it was an effort to fix things. But maybe it was a tactic to delay the consequences. I don't hate her. I don't even wish bad on her. But I'll never forget what she said that night after I confronted her. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Marriage counseling will fix this." I remember thinking, how can counseling fix what honesty could have prevented? True story. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Love without trust is just performance. And I spent too long performing, hoping she'd see my heart when she was already giving hers to someone else. These days, I'm just focused on my purpose. I know there are men out there right now who feel broken like I did, confused, betrayed, questioning their worth. I just want them to know it's not the end. You can rebuild. You can find peace again. But like I said, with her saying she was going to spend a couple nights at her mom's house, at that point my gut was uneasy, but I brushed it off. I thought I was being paranoid. I had so much trust invested in her, and for some reason, I just kept telling myself she would never do anything to ruin us. But the truth was creeping up on me, and it didn't take much to notice it. I'd been working on a demo for a new artist I was mentoring, a young R&B singer with incredible tone but zero experience in writing hooks that hit hard. She'd come by the studio a few times during that period, but for some reason, she seemed more distracted than usual. She wasn't paying attention to the session or the music like she usually did. Instead, she kept looking at her phone, laughing at messages, and suddenly, the distance between us felt bigger than I'd ever known. I tried talking to her about it once, casually, while we were driving to get lunch. I said, "Babe, you seem distant. Everything okay?" She smiled, glanced at me, and said, "Yeah, Larry, don't stress. I'm fine. Just tired, that's all." Classic. Every single time I asked, I got the same answer. "I'm fine. Don't stress." Little did I know she wasn't fine. She was laughing and flirting with someone else in real time, right under my nose. The night I caught her, I'll never forget it, started like any other Friday. I had a late session, planning to work on my own album material after mentoring a few people. Around 10:30 p.m., I was finishing up some vocal comping for the demo when I decided to grab some food before heading home. I don't know why I decided to take the long route, but as I was driving down Peachtree Street, I saw her car parked outside Bistro 86, a little Italian place we'd gone to a few times. I froze in the driver's seat. I told myself, no way, this isn't happening. But the longer I stared, the more I realized it was her, and she wasn't alone. There was a man sitting across from her, hands entwined, leaning close, laughing at something he said, laughing the way she hadn't laughed at me in months. Everything in me screamed to go inside, confront them, demand answers, break something, scream, yell, but I didn't. I just sat there. My body was shaking and I couldn't breathe. I kept replaying every detail, every moment I thought something was off, every time I ignored my gut, and they all made sense now. After a few minutes, they got up, paid the bill, and left. I followed, silently, careful not to be seen. They drove to an apartment complex about 15 minutes away from the city. They went inside together. That's when I knew there was no mistake. She was lying. She had been lying for weeks, maybe months. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in my car for hours, thinking, analyzing, trying to figure out the best way to approach this. I could confront her immediately. I could follow her next time. I could hire someone to confirm it. But I realized what I needed most at that moment was proof, irrefutable proof, because she would deny it, twist it, and gaslight me if I didn't. The next day, I stayed calm. Too calm, even. I acted like everything was fine. She came home from her mom's house, hugged me, smiled, made coffee. I didn't say a word. I watched her. Every gesture, every look, every tiny movement was scrutinized. Then she said it. Larry, I think we should go to marriage counseling. I feel like we're drifting apart. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But I stayed composed. I said, yeah, maybe we should. It was theater, performance. She was hoping I'd believe it, hoping I'd stay blind, hoping I'd keep investing my energy in her lies. Over the next week, I started gathering evidence. I didn't hire a private investigator. That felt too dramatic, too Hollywood. I relied on observation, on being meticulous. I paid attention to where she went when she left and who she texted. I noticed patterns. She'd always leave her phone behind, claiming it was charging, but sometimes I'd catch a glimpse, a notification that quickly disappeared. I started documenting everything, times, dates, locations. Then came the breakthrough. One afternoon, she told me she was going to help a friend move some furniture. Convenient, right? I followed. I stayed far enough not to be seen, but close enough to observe. She didn't go to her friend's apartment. She went to a building I didn't recognize. I watched her walk inside with the same man from Bistro 86. They disappeared together. At that moment, I felt the mix of rage and despair I had been bottling up explode. I didn't move. I didn't confront. I just wrote everything down in my notebook, every detail, every observation. That's when I realized I had all I needed. The confrontation was inevitable. I couldn't keep living like this, walking on eggshells, pretending everything was fine while my world crumbled. It happened one Saturday morning. I stayed home, waited for her to come back from her mom's. I pretended to be on a call while she unpacked groceries. I watched her. I waited. My heart was pounding, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Finally, she sat down, sipping coffee, scrolling through her phone. I said calmly, "Samantha, we need to talk." She froze. That little innocent-looking smile she always wore disappeared. I leaned back, took a deep breath, and said, "I know everything. I know about the guy. I know about Bistro 86. I know about the apartment. I know you've been lying to me for months." Her face twisted, first with shock, then with anger, then with pure panic. No, Larry, what are you talking about? You're imagining things. I held up my notebook. Detailed timelines, times, dates, locations, phone numbers, notes from my observations. Proof. She looked at it like it was a weapon pointed at her, and in a flash, the gaslighting began. You're crazy. You're obsessed. I've been nothing but faithful. You're paranoid, insecure, and controlling. I don't know why you're acting like this. I stayed silent. I let her talk. I let her try to twist reality. You're making up stories. You're ruining our marriage with this paranoia. Maybe if you spent more time at home, we wouldn't have this problem. Every word, every phrase, it was familiar. I've since learned that's what gaslighters do. They make you question your own memory, your perception, your reality. But I didn't question myself. I didn't falter. I just kept my notebook on the table, open, proof laid out. You cheated on me, Samantha. You lied. You manipulated me. I trusted you, and you threw it all away. She started crying, sobbing, claiming she didn't know why she did it, saying she felt lost, saying she wanted to fix things. And then she tried the classic, marriage counseling will fix this. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time saw her clearly. This was not a woman in distress. This was a woman who had made her choice and was hoping to control the narrative. I said calmly, no, Samantha, marriage counseling isn't going to fix what you broke. You've made your decisions. Now you live with the consequences. The divorce was brutal, emotionally. She tried to twist the story, claiming emotional abandonment, claiming I was never there, claiming I focused too much on my music. But the proof I had, the timeline, the messages, the photos, the receipts, made it impossible for her to stand her ground. She attempted to manipulate the judge, playing the victim, trying to make me look like the cold, distant husband. But truth is louder than lies. Even though I had proof, it was exhausting. Every call, every document, every session with attorneys drained me. I often wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. In the months after the divorce, I had a choice: sink into bitterness or redirect the energy I had been wasting on her into something productive. I chose the latter. Music became my therapy. I poured every ounce of pain into my writing. Every lyric, every hook, every melody on my new album tells a story, my story, and the story of anyone who's ever been betrayed. I won't lie, some days I still feel the sting. Some nights the memories hit me in waves. But I've learned to coexist with the pain instead of letting it define me. True story. If there's one thing I want men out there to take from this, it's this. Trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let someone's charm or excuses blind you. And when it happens, don't let the gaslighting make you doubt your own reality. Document, observe, protect yourself, and then reclaim your life. You can survive betrayal, you can heal, and you can come out stronger, more focused, and more authentic than before. Thanks for listening, True Story. Sharing this with people who understand makes the pain feel a little less heavy. Larry.